I'm doing well. I'm actually just sitting down, finishing lunch, having a
Yeah,
conversation with you, and then back to work.
thanks. Yeah, Julie said you guys had a busy morning.
Yeah, we did have a busy morning. Yeah, one of those exhausting ones.
Yeah.
But
Newer dogs?
yeah, yes, they're pretty much all in the beginning. Besides one of the shepherds, so you got to go through all the little stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to make sure that we head in the direction because I can just take it away, and I don't want to do that. So I want to stay on track. So if you can keep me on track,
Yeah.
we'll go over everything that you want to go over. But first, how's everything going since you've been back?
Great. Honestly, like I've implemented so much of what I learned from you, especially in the first beginning days of dogs, and it's made a huge difference overall with the dogs.
Awesome.
Definitely. I mean, most of the dogs I haven't even used prong collars on them just because the way you
Yeah.
recall and the heel, it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah, I've been using slip leads for a long. I feel like I don't even think about grabbing a prong anymore. I forget about them actually sometimes.
Yeah, like the last couple dogs I've had, like I tried it out for a day or two. I'm like, this is pointless. Like it's not even being used anymore. So that's been a huge change for sure.
Awesome. So give me an idea of what you're doing right now, and then what you would like to know, just so I can kind of see what your thinking is.
Yeah, of course. So as we spoke before, I'm sure you don't remember these details. I take 2 dogs at a time. That's it. No boarding, no daycare.
Nice.
I would say the majority of my dogs, normal, bratty, not listening stuff, but definitely lots of cases of high anxiety, higher muzzle, leak reactivity. Some dog aggression stuff, but pretty limited with aggression cases at this point.
Gotcha. So,
I'm comfortable with those, but I'm just not with my clientele. That's just not the direction it's focused on at the moment.
gotcha.
I would say one of my biggest questions right now is I struggle more so with the softer, sensitive dogs.
Okay.
The dogs that like come in hot and heavy and like need like some big lessons. Like I feel great with those dogs. Like right now I have 2 dogs. One I just sent home. I had for 2 weeks. The other dog I had for 3 weeks. And I wish I had it flipped. Dog that I had for 2 weeks was really soft, really sensitive, kind of timid, kind of shy. And this other dog who like even really hot and heavy, like pretty bad leash reactivity, trying to bite people over grooming things. And I feel like I wish I had the opposite timelines with these dogs. I don't feel like I know how to push the softer, more sensitive dogs because
Gotcha.
I'm taking so long in the beginning, not so long, but just going through that phase in the beginning of letting them decompress and work into things and not overwhelming them, that by the time they leave, in my head, I'm like, I could have pushed that dog more, but I don't know how to adjust for that, I guess.
Gotcha. No, it is a really good question, and I know exactly what you're saying because when I first started my career, it was a lot of pushy, dominant dogs that were confident.
Yeah.
And then
I
as
love those dogs.
you get those dogs, you can just give a correction, they bounce right back. It's all good. But the sensitive ones, they might have a recovery rate that's longer if you go heavy-handed at first. And then that can affect the trust part of the relationship, which makes training, even if you're doing it, it looks like the dog is nervous, and that kind of patterns the association to the command as like this coward kind of thing. So I know what you're saying, and so I honestly go the old dog whispering approach with those dogs, heavier. I use more dog whispering techniques with those types of dogs than I do. I have happy-go-lucky dogs. I don't really need to use it that much, and these dominant dogs you can get away with just prong, pop, or e-collar. But I do a lot more of talking to the dog with my body with the nervous dogs, and they're the ones that are going to teach you how to do it really good. Because they're eventually going to get really close to you, but they still don't really trust you. And if you move wrong, you can get bit in the face,
Sure.
So what I usually do with these dogs, we have an advantage. They come to our house and they are in a new place, which they're already a little nervous, okay? So I take the approach where I'm gonna use that nervousness to have the dog find me as a safe spot to bond with me. And the way that I do it,
you mentioned that when I was
important.
checking with you.
I get this done on day one usually if everything goes well, and then the dog sees me out of all the places in this new place that they know for sure that I'm a safe place. You know, not that I won't correct them. Like, dogs understand that you can be a safe place. Plus, you can physically correct them for annoying them. You know, they get it. If you know how to talk to them, you can punish them, but then not lose any trust. You know what I mean? And that's what you really want to be able to do with these dogs, is to gain trust from every experience. And so what I do is they usually are ready to run away. Usually every time they want to find some place to just bunker down. So during the exercise of opening the door, after we get them inside and after we get them with all their equipment on, then we open the door, and you know, every dog responds differently, but this dog might not run out immediately, but they might sniff, and eventually they go out, and I don't recall them. This is the difference. I'm only recalling this dog when they go into a committed flight response. Because I'm triggered, because I'm going to get rid of that response. I'm actually going to raise the tolerance for that response. You can't get rid of fight and flight. But dogs like this will go into fight or flight. I have a long line on them, so they go. I don't know if you can do this, but I let them out into the lawn, and they start sniffing, and then they get a trail and they run. Usually, it could take 30 seconds. It could take 3 seconds. It could take 3 minutes. But eventually, they go and try to find a place to go. As soon as they go, I'm out of here. That's when I correct on the e-collar, beep, and do their first recall. And they turn around and they see me, and I crouch and I'm soft. And generally, if you're lucky, like I would say like 8 out of 10 times they run right to your arms. And you let them sniff you, you don't ask them to do anything. They just want to know that they can paw on you and everything and know that you're safe. And then you settle them down, and then you let them go back out. And again, you're going to see the dog looking back at you a lot now. And every time they look back at you, hey, I'm here for you, good job, you're doing good. But if they make a bad choice, if they put resistance on the leash or something, it's just going to be another recall. And all of a sudden they realize when they get to you, it's a soft energy, you're there, you're comforting. They cling to you almost. If you do it right, some of these personalities will attach themselves to you because this is a new place and I don't know anything about it, but you're safe, boom. And now you have trust. So the way that Cesar Millan explained it, the reason why I gotta say it's Cesar Millan is because I don't like to take credit for his stuff, and I use a lot of his stuff. You want trust and respect in a relationship, okay? Right, obviously, with the right balance. Some dogs, most dogs, you get respect first, and then trust. You go straight for the, hey, don't do that shit around me, and then I'm safe, but just don't do that shit around me, which is the trust. I'll feed you and do all this stuff. But you almost go the dominant route first, right? With these other sensitive dogs, or even really aggressive dogs, because generally behind it all, they're all fucking sensitive as hell, you know, that's why they're overreacting. Yeah, go for trust first, and then slowly gain the amount of respect that I can correct this dog, and they take it well.
Yeah.
You gotta have trust first, because if you're a stranger, I do this sometimes. If I make a mistake, the dog's not submitting for me, and they're giving me, I went after it, and they're fucking flipping out, and they're not submitting, they're going into fight or flight, then they think it's life and death. They're overreacting because they're superstitious about everything. They don't know me, and it's just panic. I don't want that to be my association, because now I have more work for myself. And then that's why you're gonna have to add time on it, then through that. So I go for trust first. Believe it or not, I just want you to know that you can trust me, and you'll see them. They will definitely attach themselves to you, and then they might not even want to get in the kennel because they want to be with you, which is not a terrible thing, because at least they want to be with you. But they learn, you know, I'm the safe spot when you're nervous around here, and the kennel is a safe spot. That's day one. In every potty break, it's that exercise of relationship. How much does she trust me to come out? You know, like take my time getting her out. It's usually a female, and I have one here right now. That's a female. It's not always female. I shouldn't have said that, but usually I see it I'm thinking shepherds right now. Some of the females that come in are super. Only this level of sensitivity I've seen a few times with males, and I have one here right now who is a
Okay.
foreign dog, was Puerto Rican, and he's the softest dog I've ever met. And his energy is like zero all the time. But these dogs generally are vibrating, that comment that you're talking about, they're nervous. And they will cling themselves to you, and then they'll find a safe spot in the kennel if you can get that done. And every potty break, they learn to follow you out, go potty, and come back in.
Yeah, the dog I just sent home was a Saint Bernard, and the first few days she wanted nothing to do with me, like nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's hard. It's very
super hard.
difficult.
Like, yeah.
So if you give them contrast, so they show up in this environment, they don't care about me either, by the way. Not until I provide contrast, which is, I don't care about you, I don't care about anything here, I don't know this place, fuck this place, I'm out of here, to things can get uncomfortable in this environment, and I don't completely understand why. Now all of a sudden when they see me and showing them some softness, they say, well, that doesn't seem like a bad spot now, right? It's like, as soon as they have a little contrast, when they get here, they choose you. Come over that, right? Over going and exploring this place, I'm choosing you. And that's what I try to get. And that's why they follow me without me having to dominate them. The other dogs don't follow you unless you dominate them.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes. They eventually, one day or another, I mean, you can have knee collar on fine, you can get away with it to a degree, but to have a true follower, there's physical domination that happens.
Yeah.
So, with these dogs, these middle of the road dogs, these pushy dogs, the dogs that are trying to seek status, that's our bread and butter, baby, you know? But getting good with these soft ones.
Dogs. Those are the dogs I feel confident with.
And those dogs are usually confident when it comes to the environment. They go and start marking, this is good. These other dogs, they're not confident in the environment. They're nervous of leaves. They're nervous of cars. They haven't been exposed at a young age. They need help. So you're starting from the beginning, and it's usually an adult that you're working with, which makes it even harder because they haven't matured properly. They don't have what they need. Plus they're nervy. So building the relationship, man, and then as your relationship builds, as the trust starts going up, you start demanding a little bit more. No, don't rush out of your kennel. You know? Okay, that's all I'm asking today is don't rush out of your kennel, don't rush out this door. A couple potty breaks from there, now I'm asking for a sit. And as soon as you give me the sit, I'm giving you that loving. Because you're more concerned about the dog learning how to have that conversation with you. I'm asking for something, and you learn how to try things to do it. And here's the correction for not trying, and here's the correction for, trying to get out of the situation. The dog learns that you're asking something of it. They become operant to that. Most important part. So I'm not concerned if they get in their sit and they sit back up. I'm still going to say good in those early ones.
Yeah.
I'm not good. Good for you.
The hugest game changer with the way I've been working with dogs, especially in the
They
beginning.
tried something.
Having that conversation and not just giving them the answers. Like, hey, this is exactly what I want you to do. Or like, hey, try something. Hey, you're trying to get out of the conversation.
That's great.
That's been a huge change for sure.
You see holes in dogs though. You see the problem instantly when you start working with dogs like that because they can't hold focus. They're just all over the fucking place. And you're like, this is the problem. Everybody's worried about the pulling, the bark, and all this stuff. The problem is this dog does not know how to talk or listen or follow humans at all. It does not understand how, and it doesn't care to. And so, right? That's the job. And as far as the time restraint, I always feel better if I know I have a time limit. Yeah, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but at any time, I would just add time on. And if I'm early in my career, I would not even charge because it's just for me to figure out. Once my judgment's better, I'll know. I'll know as soon as I see that dog. Well, that's not 2 weeks, and I'll call them up immediately. But for now, if I need to add a week, hey, it's on me. And this is what I say. I say, your dog is very sensitive. And they say, I know that. And then you say, I don't want to push her too fast and too hard. I'd like it to be more organic. And so I'm going to need another week or two because I don't think she needs a slower program with less pressure, and she'll develop better. And everybody is like, even if they're paying for it, they're like, yes, thank you for understanding. I always just have people saying, thank you for understanding how to work with a sensitive dog. That's what I'm worried about. Is sending them up to a place where they just crank on them, and it works for the majority of them, but then you get a dog in like that, and that's where it doesn't work, and that's where they say the dog's fucked up. They're probably right. I mean, the dog's nervy, but you can do a lot with these dogs as far as boosting their confidence. They need to get confident about exploring. I teach these dogs then. Let me go online. So I got them taking potties, and I finally get the relationship where I'm telling them to sit. If they don't do it at the door, I can click at a low level on the e-call and they understand that's me, and they try behavior and I say good, I got this going on. I'm also adding in tone recall because I feel like I need a recall once I start going off property immediately. I need them to know that. That tone's nice because it's just so consistent. They get it so fast. They get it fast.
That's been amazing. The tone, the dogs respond so quickly.
It's great.
The tone is instant.
And it's not as confrontational as the old popping on the leash. So you get it. So that's also softer on these soft dogs. They don't see it as you as much, and they see you as helping them through it. And so then what I'll do is I'll teach them. Once this is a few days usually of just going to the potty, and maybe we'll do some stuff in the social yard because we have a yard. We can do some recall in there. That's cool. But we're not leaving property yet. And then when I feel like we're ready with the recall and the relationship, then we open the gate and we step out. And that's when the senses start going, and you start seeing the triggering back. These dogs might trigger into fight or flight. They might. And then we'll work on our recall out there till the dog realizes that they're with us. And this happens. They just accept that they're with us. And this could take a day or two. And all we do is recalls whenever the brain decides not to, either to, I'm leaving. You'll see the dog say, I'm leaving, and you recall them. Or you recall when they become resistant on the leash. And all you're doing is walking around the perimeter of the property, stopping at certain spots for potty breaks and encouraging them to do stuff. And this will slowly turn into heel all around the property, stop for potty breaks, which will teach them how to walk. Walks are to travel to a place, and then to have a release, and then to travel. And once they learn that's how you travel with humans, and I'm doing this, I'm experimenting this right now without using any command words. It's all informal sounds. And the dogs are learning to follow me. I'm using a stick and everything. It's badass, like old school dog whispering stuff. They're following me, and then they're stopping, and then they're released to some freedom, and then they come back, they follow me wherever we go, and then I stop. And in the beginning of this process, the dogs do not want to follow you. They want to go and do their own thing. I want to go check it out. But after being corrected for going out and coming back, and after a couple of days, they just know how to do stuff. They just know how to do it, and it's patterned, and this is how we move. And so I don't have to fight anymore because we already had that fight. And so what I see with this insecure dogs, the reason I'm telling you this is because it encourages them, they're following you, this is good, and it encourages them to go explore. Use your nose, be a dog. And I usually do pack work with these dogs. I will do this like migration with other dogs with them. Without demands of like you have to be in heel or anything. There's just loose rules. Be behind me. Don't be too far to the side. That's it. And you're with other dogs. So you'll see the dog feel more comfortable as soon as you release them and they see the other dogs go sniff. Curiosity kicks in. You always encourage curiosity with these dogs because oftentimes they're just so insecure about the world, unsure of it, that they overreact to keep everything away. That's why they're explosive on the leash, usually. And so this teaches them how to go out, explore the world, come back to your handler. I know it sounds simple, but I'm telling you right now, if you skip these conversations and go straight into like training and keeping it real rigid, the dog doesn't rehab. The mind doesn't rehab. You want to see the dog feel better naturally and the problems fade away. You still have to control in the end. Everything will be tight in the end, but the first couple of weeks, it's just getting the dog's head where it needs to be. They're in with my pack. They're in the routine of getting off the property, or going around the trails. They know all this. They know how to relax in the living room. And now we're ready to tighten things up a little bit, so then take it out to the real world. But the tightening up process is a lot quicker because they already know. They just don't know that heel means to be in that position, but they know to be in that position. And same with the recall. The recall is easy. The tone does all the work, and you just put the word in front of it. You're all good. But the other things that I'm doing at this time is in the beginning is I'm using the shush noise with the stim, and I'm associating calm, almost submissive state of mind with that. So I'm training the mind to be within a boundary, right? And not to leave it until I say break, and then you can access these other parts of your brain where you go into adrenaline and all that. But I need you to stay calm. And we can actually correct a dog for stepping off the place bed, if you will, of the mind into another state of mind, and they go back to this space. And the reason why this program has that special thing going on, which yours now does too, is that, and this is what I think a lot of places are missing. The big places are definitely missing this. The association to the stim is everything. The how they feel when they feel that stim, all the experiences that were captured in the moments that they're through this program, we always bring them back to this calm state. Whenever they leave that calm state, they make an error, they do get punished, but then they also get put back into the calm state via e-collar every time. So the dogs learn how to they get corrected and they calm and they look at things clearly. This is so hard. It's the hardest thing to do. And I think that's why it's probably not being done. But if you master that, then you
Yeah,
are...
when I was there was a concept that you'd mentioned, and I wanted to touch on that in this talk too, was teaching the dog how to take a correction.
Yes. And they don't know how sometimes.
Yeah. Corrected and then called. So, like, one of the common things I see with some dogs, is like the occasional, let's say dog's on place. He's on place, doing great, he's physically there, starts to whine a little bit. You give the dog a correction, change that state of mind, but then they break the place because they're not taking the correction.
That's right. I know what you speak of. There's ways around this. When I actually just had that happen about an hour ago to a guy who also whines. They're all shepherds in right now, so shepherds are the best to do this with.
Stop buying shepherds.
Listen, if you can get this done with a shepherd, you can get it done with any other breed.
Yeah.
They're going to be, and huskies, like those types of breeds, those vocal breeds like that. This stuff works on them. And if you can get it done on these guys, like these guys are making me work for my money right now. They're all different. One's super sensitive, and I had to go for trust first, and then the other two I had to go for respect first. You know, you know, it's. I'm trying new stuff this year, and I'll be sharing it as I do figure it out more, and I'm allowing myself to explore some of this stuff because I think we found something. As far as I don't think we've ever in the history of ever been able to correct on a device that is electric to shift a dog's mentality. I don't think we've ever had that as trainers before, and it's new. And I think when we first got it, we didn't realize what it could do. We were just physically shutting shit down, you know, which is fine, and it gets the job done. But we're now able to hold them accountable for a certain frame of mind. I mean, that's where the magic is. Really. It's insane. It really is. And I like, if smarter people would look at this, I wish they would, a smarter mind would be interested in this stuff. They'd probably they'd be able to break it down scientifically that we have something going on. And then they'd be like, that's abusive and that's stuff. And so, whatever. But it's the closest thing of being able to give an owner the level of respect you get when you correct a dog as the trainer, because they do have associations to the stim every time you've corrected them. It's almost like when daddy gets home, you hear the truck, and this happened to me. I hear the truck in the driveway and I'm like, fuck, just the sound of the truck made my stomach sink. Okay, so it brought back the associations to it. It's almost like PTSD so the dogs get the same thing. When they get corrected at home and they start to go into this old, bad state of mind, if they push the button and they get corrected, it does bring them back. It gives that daddy's home kind of vibe. And it also tells them, they also know, relax or another one's coming. That's important. And it's hard to teach some dogs that. And listen, there's not a book on it because I think it's new. I really do. The more I'm realizing it, I know I was doing it, but I figured other people were doing it. And I do think other people are doing it. I think that we're all just new at it, like past 5 years or so. So.
That's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about that in regards to it is super racist.
I mean, state of mind has been around for a while since Cesar Millan brought attention to it, but state of mind with e-collars has not. This is new, and I think that's what the interest was with this company, is that I didn't know it necessarily or coin it like that, but I was using dog whispering state of mind stuff with the e-collar because I come from dog whispering, that's how I seen it, and I didn't realize that other people weren't doing that. So, and then we also had the belief that we had to create a double down because that's the only way that an owner could get it. And what we realized with the double down is with the dog, if you see our dogs, they're actually submitting. They're submitting like as if you pin them. They're not on the side all the time, although some of them do it on the side. but they submit to the situation because they've all been submitted by me usually, and the e-collar has been the information that tells them relax and lets them know when it's done. And I can also punish the e-collar.
That's a double down work with every dog that comes to your
I have been, recently I've been working on the mind overall, but I always make it a point on place and on downs in any distracting environment to proof it heavily. I'm not telling owners to use it all the time, but this is the rehab work. It actually does the job for you because you're having like only that conversation. It's so fucking efficient. You're not wasting any time. You're saying, put your head down. You address the reactivity by having a quiet room, a sound, no thought, react, correct, put back until the dog starts to self-regulate. They say they hear it, but they don't, or they come up a little and then they self-regulate, right? And they stop actually lifting up. And some dogs, eventually, if they stop, they just turn an ear, like really, really appropriate response. And you say, yeah, that's good, right? And so you adjust how they react to the fucking environment. I mean, it's real. And it does go, and once you get it with the ball, and you get it with all these other things, you get it with people, then you get it with dogs, you get it with all the real stuff, and then you take it off property, you use it off property, you make sure you can get it every place, with every dog. Yeah, because they're gonna need that. That's what they really want, whether they know it or not. They want to be able to hit a button and the dog shuts up and relaxes. They do. They want that, and so they get that here. Whether or not they're doing it correctly or not, they will click a button and the dog will relax, and they're happy with that. And they can hit another button and get the dog to them. So they can hit one button to get the dog to them. They can hit another button and say relax. They don't even need to talk to the dog. It's that easy. So with this dog, she's your dog now. Pretend you're on a fucking island, and this is the only dog you can ever have, and you got to build the best relationship with her. That's what I do. And take your time with her. Don't put a time limit on it. Let the owners know next time you get a dog like that you would feel better if you didn't have to push her, and you could see where she ended up naturally. And you will learn from her and the next ones that come what it looks like time-wise. Your program. Yeah. And then you'll have a thing, and you'll know how to do it. And then you'll get more of it.
Each dog teaches me something new, that's for sure. But it's generally the softer, more sensitive ones that
they're an important piece of the puzzle.
It's not as intuitive for me as the other ones. And I know part of that is just the background I had with who I shadowed under for a very long time. So. Right, and well, you have a good thing. It would be better to know that you have what you have, rather than you're good with the sensitive dogs, but you can't handle the dogs that need to be corrected. That would make your career difficult, right? Because every dog, eventually, even this dog that doesn't trust you, eventually trusts you and gets really confident, and then does that shit needs to be submitted. Like there's the whole extra time frame to get them to this confident space, to then they fuck up, and then put them in their place, but still keep the confidence. That's when you know you have that dog ready to go live with a family. And I think looking at dog training this way is going to change the industry for the better. Like you're looking at the dog again. Because for a little while there, I think trainers forgot to look at the dog stuff. And it was really heavy how to teach commands. And it's like, I think that's part of the problem. That is probably a great way to summarize the background that I came from. It's like, use the commands, like you obey this command.
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, and
that's the story. You know, like,
it works to a degree, but if you want dogs to feel, you know how they can feel. You know how balanced they can be, and you know that the dogs that go through a program that focuses on the mind, they won't be fussing on the leash. They'll just be relaxing. They won't be like, they'll be in there, like there's the dog that does never get state of mind training, which they always end up here. They come from programs, and they end up here. All the dogs here right now have come from other programs that were the same price of ours or even more expensive. You know what I mean? But their mind's not there. They know what they're doing, so you put them in heel, and they go when they see things. You know, which is, it's stressful. You don't want to hear that noise. It's intuitively stressful. It's naturally stressful. You don't want to hear that. And so they do that, and then the whining gets to like, of course, because they're thinking about something, they end up breaking commands, getting corrected a lot at high numbers, but in this state of mind, and they're just in this cycle where they're expecting the correction, but they want to go over there, and now the whole association just to the walk and to other dogs is like, here comes the stress. Here comes this fucked up situation that I don't understand. And then I have to go through that shit because they already have certain associations to the e-collar, like the e-collar corrections, shoot them up. I just had a dog who has just been on e-collar today. I corrected him on like a 10 on the e-collar and he flipped the fuck out. And he finished a board and train with e-collar. He flipped out. Not even, partially bratty, but partially not knowing what to do with the stem. And I'm like, you went through a fucking training. This is common. This is common. I don't know how it's being used, but it's not how it's done, how we're doing it. So anyways, focusing it on the mind seems to be the way to go. It does take more time, but I believe that if things are done right, trainers should be valued more in our society. They should be looked up upon like doctors and stuff, because somebody who can do what you do and what I do, not many people can do. Not right now. Not many people can do that. And I don't think it's being respected enough. They wanted that, like, okay, here's some money, get it done in 2 weeks. I think it should be, you should be respected more once you cultivate these skills. Give yourself a year or two, and you feel like you're at that level, all of a sudden you're a doctor. And now, you know, you're not going to tell the doctor what tools to use. You're not going to tell them how long the surgery takes or anything. You're going to simply hire them because you trust them. And you leave them alone and they will do you good. And that's the position I think you are going to be happiest in this career to make it the long term. You're going to have people trust you so that you can do your thing because you know you can do it. You just need time. And you'll figure your shit out. So always remember that if they're hiring you, they need to respect you to know that you're going to be able to solve the problem, and you're keeping the dog's best interest in mind too, because that is professional. And if the dog needs more time, don't do what I did in the past and fuss it through 2 weeks and have all these big fucking messes and the dog's all fucking panty and doesn't go home in the right state of mind. Yeah. Say, out of respect for this dog, it needs more time. And if the owner says no, then you say, okay, then I cannot help, unfortunately, and here's a couple other good places that might be able to help you. But for me, my process is more organic, and I allow the dog to come to their own conclusions a lot of the times, and dogs who need more time, need more time. That's how I do it. And then people think you're the best dog trainer in the world, because you're standing up for the dog too, and you always have to do that. Because, you know, we've all been down the road. I've been down that road where I didn't stick up for the dog, you know, and it beats, and I beat myself up over that. So that's why I preach that too. I think you're going to be happier if once you trust yourself to do the process and give yourself the time and figure it out. But if you have any questions along the way, you can definitely contact me and other people that do this kind of stuff. But I think you've already got what it takes. Learn to be the softer side of yourself. You're going to have to share that very soft side sometimes, that soft energy. Do you have trouble with affection from people? Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said personal question. Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm not saying that's part of the problem. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely like I have walls up for sure.
Okay.
I'm a guarded person in general. I'm trying to work on it.
Good. Well, this is why we do dogs.
People I'm comfortable with.
This is why we train dogs, because this is what they do for us.
100%.
They bring out what you, now these dogs showed you, they're like, hey, this thing needs to be worked on, right? They showed that to you. And that's what they do for me. And anytime I start to become resentful of my job because it's taking up my entire fucking life, I go without it for a few weeks and I realize I've become less of a balanced person. Dogs make you balanced.
They keep me accountable, that's what I like about it.
If you aren't balanced, then the punishment from a dog is they don't listen as well. You know? They just won't listen to you as well if you're not reacting appropriately. And when you're truly reacting appropriately with the dogs, you're truly right there with them. And when you're not right there with them, it's because you're stressed or something else and your mind's being pulled, whether you know it or not. You're kind of humming at a vibration that's a little off. You're not there with them. And when you are there with them, though, and your corrections are on time and that eye contact when they swing around is right on you, it's a smoother process. I'm not saying you won't run into fights. It'll come out. That's part of the evolution of a dog being domesticated. Unfortunately, if you want control of an animal, you got to be able to hold it down and not let it move until it says, okay, that's what they do in the wild. That's all I know. That's how they do it to each other. Don't move. And if you cannot move, you'll live. And if you follow, you'll live. But don't try to step. Don't try to take my food or try to decide how to deal with this thing that just popped up in the environment before I get to. Otherwise, I'm going to attack you. That's how they do it to each other. So I keep that in mind. But when I don't want to get off track. I don't want to get into aggression or anything like that. But you're going to have to have an image of and this is what I recommend to do. This is what I did. An image of a alpha female wolf or wild street dog or something. If you can find it, if you can see it, being dominant. And if you can't find a female, find a male. But I want you to feel how they carry themselves amongst the other dogs, and that'll give you an idea of how you should feel when you move. And it'd be best, obviously, if you get dogs, if you're around dogs that are dominant and female. I think that's important to play your role, because the dog knows your sex, and I do think that they treat sexes differently in the beginning. Because think about it this way, like some dogs don't want to see me if they're nervous because they want to soften their energy. No, I don't think that I think that it's just an energy thing. I don't think it's really male or female necessarily. I think what it is like, it's like a vibration thing. So I'm carrying a little bit more dominance usually because that's how I go through life, right? When I'm around these dogs and I forget to really turn it down. And it's a skill. I mean, it's something that you got to work at. They're nervous of me, but not of Julie, right? And then, but the dogs who come in who are like dominant, they're more respectful to me, but not to Julie. And Julie gains the respect by going up with her energy and being firm, then she gets the respect. And I gain the softness by going down with mine when it's appropriate, right? And it is a game of that. You're gonna head to that direction of learning how to fluctuate however you want to define it. Energy is how I define it, but I don't really know what it is. I don't really know what it is, but when you're talking to these dogs, if you're holding a dominant, you might not even know you're doing it. Your shoulders are back, you're holding this little bit of a dominant approach towards this dog because that's how you deal with dogs. That's your association, that's your flow state. You really got to take a deep breath and feel the room. Make sure it's a quiet room, just you and the dog, and make sure it's flatlined. And you're going to realize that the only thing that's noisy is you. You are thinking a lot, and you're bringing. Watch a dog go from 0 to. They get more anxious, right? And then that's where they stay. You might find that you're not at 0 when you think you are. And there's a time to put yourself at 0. And this is the healing part of dogs. They teach you how to control your emotions. And that's important it's more important when you're working with sensitive dogs. That's it. You can get away with not doing that stuff with middle of the road dogs. But as soon as you get serious cases, that's why there's only a few people that do it. The people that do it a lot don't get bit a lot. You ever notice that? They don't. The people who are doing this every day, it's easier for them than others. And I think it's because they understand these things. They understand how to talk with their energy first, and then their body language, and eye contact and all that stuff, just enough to make the conversation clearer so that there's less confusion, so there's less panicky strikes. You know what I mean? And so with these sensitive dogs, it's an opportunity to learn how to get them to feel comfortable with your body language. You see me get on the floor all the time. You see me sit down and crowd and squat down and do these stupid things. Silly things, but it shows the dog that I'm being submissive, but only because I want to be, not because I have to be. One thing, I don't know if you're going to need... Yeah. The dog needs to know that you can take care of your own. They know that, but you have a soft side, and that'll make them feel comfortable. Okay? Petting them, massaging them after a submission. I usually massage them after a submission, and then after they get up...
I do more of that. There's been a few dogs where I've had to use a lot of affection initially, like you said, sitting on the floor, just connecting with them.
Okay, I don't want to get off here without telling you this, because this is something that I do every time, and I should tell you. So I look for a reason to submit the dog eventually if I need to. If I feel like it's the type of dog that needs it, they're usually going to give me a reason to, eventually. When I submit the dog, after I submit the dog, especially if it is a sensitive dog, because I do submit these sensitive dogs, it's just, like you approach it differently, energy-wise and all that, right?
Yeah.
But when I let them up, when they get up, I then crouch and I offer softness. And they usually come over to me and give me affection after the submission. And then I have respect and trust and the conversation's done. And I focus pretty much my whole career on getting good at that. Because that moment when you first meet a dog, they want to know all that first. They want to know, when dogs meet each other, they want to know, how is this going to go? Hierarchically, right? They want to know who's going to lead. They want to know all this shit right off the bat. So those are the first
Yeah.
conversations I have with them. I generally, the skittish girl that I have, she's very nervy. Not so much of people, but of the environment and of dogs. And she's explosive as fuck, but super insecure. Super insecure, but very explosive when she sees other dogs. So what did I do? Within 10 minutes, this is what I did with her. I didn't know this dog. I didn't ever seen this dog. Nothing. She's in my yard because Julie brought her in. We get the tools on her. I'm on one end of the yard. Julie's in the kennel room on the other end of the yard. I have a slip lead on this dog, a long line on this dog that has a dominant dog collar in it, so I can get this dog if I need to. I'm actually hanging on to the long line without the dog knowing it. And this is what happens. This gives me a reason to submit her, and it also tackles the problem that she came here with, and it gets my relationship going. Open up the door, out comes Izzy with Julie on a slip lead, and this dog went from 0 to 60, charged. The whole vicious works. Hits the end of the leash, because of course I'm not going to let her there, and I correct her, and she pretty much after the correction is walking towards me, and I have the pressure up, and I'm walking into her, and I submit her like a dog would. On their property, you're not on your property, but you don't know it's my property because you're not paying attention, right? Now you know. Now you know who you're with. So I submit her, and she, I took my time with her. I didn't slam her on the ground or anything. I put the pressure up so that she starts to soften her body. As her body softens, so doesn't the pressure. As it stiffens, the pressure goes on. They will learn. You want them to learn. Relaxing gets me to turn the pressure off. So as she relaxes, I'm encouraging her now to go down to her side, and then she does let me submit her. She puts her head up to hear the rocks move as Izzy's moving over there a little bit, and I tap on the e-collar low. And then I shush, and I put my hand on her head, and I put it down. This allows me in a couple reps to hit the e-collar, and they put their head back down without me touching them. This is important because I don't want to be touching them as soon as I can.
Yeah.
This is her first introduction to me. Now, the reason why I can do that is because it's justified. She went into kill mode, and so she does not have to, I don't have to explain why I pinned her. If I just pinned her out of no reason, it's gonna get fucking weird. She's gonna think you're trying to kill her. Okay? And it's gonna go bad. You're not gonna get the message across. Now, she's submitted. She doesn't get up. This dog does not get up, and they usually do. And Izzy's moving around, and she's still not getting up. I'm like, okay, she's never been submitted. That's fine. I then offer her to get up, give a little something. I crouch, she comes over to me, I pet her on her chest, and she comes into me, and then she gives me a rub with her side, and now we're touching. They touch you, they're getting close, and then we just hang out. We're not doing anything, we're just hanging out. Now here's the thing, now here comes Izzy, she's on the leash. Now I need this dog, I'm solving all the problems in my relationship with this dog right now. She knows she can trust me now, she knows to respect me, but now, what do I do about that dog? Because it's coming, and what I do, I always just explode. Now I set up right in that moment, because I know what the dog needs to understand. That I'm going to tell dogs to go away, and that you're not allowed to, but I won't let them come close to you. So I set up 2 experiences right now. I have her come, and I tell this dog to stay. Tell this dog to stay in a way that an animal would tell another animal to stay. That's how, I'm not taught, it's like, shh. Even if you say stay. If it gets up, no. Everything's informal, there's no commands. And then the dog gets closer, and I'm waiting to see her eyes get panic. And as soon as they got panicked, I seen her expression not know what to do. She knew not to go after. I provided myself enough hesitation with that correction to allow her to feel the discomfort, and then me step in with a shush and tell that dog to go. And I watch her go. I turn around, I look at her after I corrected the dog. They know when you're correcting another dog, And I looked at her, and I give her the thumbs up, but she doesn't know what it means yet. And I said, good girl, and I went over there, and she just sat. And I pet her on the snout, and I said, good girl again. And then I had Izzy do it again with Izzy, but then I did it again with Riggins. I had him leave, and I had a new dog come out with a different demeanor, more dominant. Because what I have is this, I have Izzy, who's a little bit of a medium energy, high energy, little fuzzball. And that'll provide prey drive a little bit. It can provide, you can get prey drive out of that. But you can also get dogs who just want to correct her because she's rude. Then I have Riggins, who can bring out the dominant side, the calmer, quieter, dominant side, which will make dogs want to go down that road and have that conversation. And then I have Sparkles, who looks like an injured animal, which will definitely bring out prey drive. So I know what I'm using when I take out dogs. So I take out a dominant dog, which is Riggins, and not only am I going to have him come close, I have him bark on command. So I have her back, I have a long line on her, I have a slip lead on her. If she goes after him, I have just enough slip lead where if I back up a couple steps, I'm going to stop her before she gets to him. But she's able to start the lunge. There's no information until she's committed, and then there's just punishment. Because I'm just teaching her not to go into that space. And she never went into that space that day again. She triggered one other time with a dog around the corner, but she quickly, this is the next day, quickly was like, oh, whoops. And I was like, yeah, exactly, and I know what that means we're headed, so I did not go heavy on her on that one. I let her know, but I didn't submit her and all that. So anyway, this one, I bring Riggins out, and again, I start to see the panic, and I send him away. I do it a couple times until I see her going, and I said, good girl, that sniffing's good, now I'm curious about the other dog. Not crazy about it, but curious. Curious is good. And so using the nose is good. That's the beginning of the social process. So I go over and grab some of his fur off his hind end. I bring it over to her. I let her sniff it. That takes down the worry a little bit. At least I got a sniff. And then she feels comfortable. I encourage her to walk around while Riggins stays away. They walk around a few minutes later. They naturally kind of gravitate towards each other. She kind of gravitated towards him to smell him after he marked. And he has learned through me to let them smell you. And then I break it up, and now she feels better around Riggins. And I did the same with Izzy, and she feels better on Izzy. And then I introduce her to the lawn, and I'm teaching her how to greet and all this fucking stuff. This is what's going to change her. This is what's going to change her. She assumes every dog's going to kill her. I'm proving her otherwise. And I'm also saying, even if you do think it's going to kill you, don't move, because then you have me to do it. So it works. And then it allows me, eventually I'm going to be bringing this dog around all the dogs barking on the streets, all this heavy stuff. And I'm going to have a dog who looks at me, chill, and being like, yeah, don't pay attention then, right? It's just, I'm like, yeah, don't pay attention. And we're good and not nervous. And that's rehab. So 3 to 4 weeks is usually what it takes. I'm doing it in 3 right now because I'm also pushed for time. Because the thing is Julie knows I can do it in 3. But some dogs, like I told you, I'll stand up for the dog. If I feel like the dog needs more time, I will give it. So.
You'll definitely be getting another call from me. I booked a dog aggressive Dogo Argentino.
Holy shit.
I have a Dogo.
Oh, good, good.
And that will probably be my first, actually more serious dog grooming case. So.
We got some talking to do because I have a starter pack for you.
I'm a big male Dogo. This guy probably has, 30 pounds on my Dogo. So
Holy
it's like, Jesus Christ, I gotta definitely call Joshua.
You gotta do it right. There's a nice like way to ease into it so you get the relationship right, so you're not at so you don't get yourself in one of those situations where you're like the dog's attacking you. we just don't want that. So there is a thing that I can give you that hopefully when the dog does attack you, you know it's coming because you kind of provoked it by asking, but you know you're ready to go for the answer. But you'll get to the point, I can hopefully teach you what I do to get to the point where the dog trusts you enough where it's not coming out unless you're provoking it. You know? So, and I'm pretty good at that. But eventually you do have to fight with the dog. So, I'm not that good where I found out where you don't have to fight with the dog. If I ever find that out. I just don't know because nature says that you can't do it without it. And so therefore it kind of sets us up not to be able to, but you never know with technology these days. I hear, this is not going to be a tangent, I'm stopping right after I say it, but I hear that they're learning, smart people are learning how to take certain characteristics out of your head. Like literally you can be like, oh, let's just take depression out of there. What else do you want out of there? The temperamental? Yeah, let's fix that up. Like that's where we're headed. So anyway. One day there won't be jobs for us because they'll just bring their dogs to the place to get their heads like fixed. But anyway, it's not. And nobody's gonna like it anyway because you want a dog. You want a wild thing in a relationship with it that keeps everything intact. But anyway, I think we did a pretty productive thing here today.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's leave it at that, and I'll be here when you need me.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Talk to you later.